In this video, we're starting with a new FLA file, an ActionScript 3 FLA file. And what we're going to do now is we're going to perform a similar animation, except this time we're going to use the tween class. Now, one of the big differences with a tween class from using an interframe event or a timer is that with a tween class, you're defining a starting and ending point, and then you're telling Flash to animate the object in between those 2 points. And you can animate any number of different properties. You can animate the x coordinate, the y coordinate, you can animate the alpha, things like that. Now you can animate all of those other properties using interframe events and timers as well, but the difference is when you're using the tween class, you're going to define a starting and ending value instead of just starting the animation like we did with an interframe event and then just having it run over and over again. Again, with the tween class, we'll have a starting and ending value. So let's create a new circle here on the stage. And then we'll select the circle, F8 to convert it to a symbol. It'll be a movie clip symbol, and we'll call it circle. Then with that circle selected, we'll give it an instance name, again, of circle_MC. And then we'll rename this layer circle, lock it, create a new layer. We'll rename this new layer actions. We'll lock it, and then we'll click on frame 1 for the actions layer and hit F9 to open up our actions, or Alt F9 if you're using a Mac. Now what we want to do first of all, if we want to use the tween class, we first have to import it. The tween class is one of those classes that's not natively available to you until you actually import it. So we'll type import fl dot transitions dot tween with a capital T. And this is just something you're going to have to either memorize or write down and remember because you cannot use the tween class again without importing it first. And then in order to use the tween class, we have to also use an easing class inside the tween constructor. So we have to import the easing classes as well. So import fl, and then this is inside transitions as well, and then dot easing dot, and then there are a number of different easing classes inside the easing package, and if we want to import all of them, we can just type dot asterisk and then semicolon to end our statement. So this will import all of the classes inside this easing package. Okay, let's skip a couple lines and let's create our new tween. So we'll say we can sort in a variable saying var tween with a lowercase t colon tween with a capital T equals new tween, but you don't have to put that variable there. We don't have to store this inside a variable. We could just type new tween and then type everything inside the parentheses, and that's what we're going to go ahead and do here. And when you're typing in everything you need in between the parentheses here, the first thing you need to type in is going to be the object being tweened, and we can see that inside this pop-up code hint. And the object we're tweening here is going to be the circle_MC movie clip. So we'll type in circle_MC, comma, space. The next thing we need here is going to be the property of that circle movie clip that we're going to be animating. Well, the property we're going to be changing here is going to be the X property. We're going to move it from left to right across the stage. Now you'll notice that this property is supposed to be a string, so we can't just type X here. Instead, we need to put X inside quotation marks, and then comma, space. And then the next thing we need is our easing function. If you're familiar with making tweens on the timeline, then hopefully you know by now that you can ease the tween. In other words, you can start a animation off slowly and then speed up through it. That would be considered easing in. Or you can ease out of it, where it would start off quickly and then slow down near the end. So we can ease in and out using this tween class as well. And the way we do that is we type in the name of the class. There's one called strong, and then we type strong dot, and then we can use a number of different functions here: ease in out, or ease out. And we're going to go ahead and use the ease out function. We'll ease out of this animation. Now inside parentheses here, you can type in some numbers. We're not going to worry about that. We're just going to get rid of the parentheses and just type strong dot ease out. Okay, then we're going to type comma, space, and then it's expecting 2 numbers which represent the starting and ending value of the property that we're tweening. So where do we want this X position to start, and where do we want it to end at the end of the tween? Well, we want it to start wherever we placed it on the stage. So we can type in its starting position by typing circle_mc.x. So basically what we're saying is we want this animation to start wherever that circle is right now on the stage. Comma, space, and then we want to move it to the right. So we could just type in a number here like 500, or you could say, you could type in some kind of addition here. For instance, if we wanted to move this circle 400 pixels to the right, we could point to the x value by typing circle_mc.x, and then we can type plus 400. So that will move it from where it is to 400 pixels to the right. Comma, space, and then we need two more things inside the parentheses here. The first thing we need is a number that represents how long we want this tween to take. How long do we want it to take to get from its starting position to its ending position? And then the second or the last value that we need in here, it's a true-false value that says whether that duration is going to be in seconds or in frames. And that value is called use seconds. So if you're going to use seconds for the duration, you type true. If you're going to use frames, you type false. So let's say we want this animation to take 3 seconds. We can type 3, comma, and then we want to use seconds here. We want this number here to represent seconds, so we're going to type true. And then we'll close our parenthesis and type a semicolon to end our statement. Now if we wanted this to be in frames, we could type something like 36, comma, false, if we can spell false correctly. Or we could just leave it at 3, comma, true. Either way, it will take up 3 seconds if you're working with 12 frames per second. Okay, so there's our code. Let's test our movie by hitting Control Enter. And there we go. We see our animation, and we see that it did ease out. It started off quickly, and then it slowed down near the end. We can also do an ease in. If we change this ease out to ease in, we spell that right, and then hit Control Enter again, it starts off slowly, and then it speeds up towards the end. So you can do a number of different easing things there. We can also type in regular.ease out, and then get rid of the parentheses there. When we do that, Control Enter, it eases out just like we did before, but the easing isn't as strong. It's just kind of a subtle ease. It starts off somewhat quickly and then slows down once it gets to the end. So yeah, there we go. And that's basically how you use the tween class to animate objects. And again, the big difference here is that we have to specify a beginning and an ending point. So if you're creating some kind of interactive animation, let's say that you want to control a game character on the stage, and you want your users to be able to press down on an arrow key, like the right arrow key, for example, in order to get the character to move to the right across the stage. Well, in that case, you wouldn't use a tween, because as long as the user holds down the right arrow key, it's going to animate, but as soon as the user releases the arrow key, it's going to stop moving. So in that case, you don't know where the animation is going to end. So you wouldn't use a tween for that. You would use either an interframe or a timer. And then once the user releases the mouse key, you would turn off that timer or delete that interframe event. So there are different ways that these can be used, and there are different instances that would call for a different method of animating. But that's how you create an animation using a tween. So let's save this file. And we'll save this as tween.fla. And with that saved, we can now move on to the next video.